Hello and welcome. Today I will show you how to upgrade the processor and memory in an Acer 5100 series laptop. This is my old Acer 5101 laptop and the specifications are here. Now it's BIOS 2.0. Old processor is an Turion of 2 GHz single core processor. And before I can replace the processor with the new one, I have to upgrade the BIOS to the latest one. I prepared everything here, it's just ready to run the BIOS update. I can put links on the video description so you go directly to the BIOS, to the manufacturer website. And the BIOS takes some time to update. I'm filming this whole process from start to finish in real time so you see what to expect. After the BIOS update is finished, it took some time until the laptop started. It gave me a bit of sweaty palms, but eventually it did turn on and it's reset. Now the BIOS is at version 3.13. This is the latest one that I found on the Acer website and it did work perfectly. Time to update the processor and open the laptop. I will start by removing the battery and unplugging the power cord. There should be no power to the laptop. And remove these 4 screws. Once the screws are removed, you will gently pry the cover open and you can remove it just like this. This laptop supports up to 4 GB of RAM. After removing the cover, you will see the memory slots. And first I'm going to replace the memory just to make sure that the new modules I have, they're working. These are 2 modules of 2 GB each. The original memory for this laptop was 512. You remove the memory by just pressing on these tabs left and right, and once you press, the module will just pop out and you can pull it out without too much force. The same for the second one. If you can't use your fingers, you can use a small screwdriver or a plastic tool. You install the memory module by sliding it in at an angle like you see here, and after you make sure it's straight, you just press it down and it will lock in place. It's the same thing for the second module. I had a bit of a surprise here. After installing the 2 memory modules, the laptop wouldn't start and this LED was blinking on and off every second. So there was a problem there and I had to check which RAM module is faulty. So I decided to keep only 1 module inside and try again. with only one module it powered on, and it shows 2 GB of RAM, so that one works. And to check the other one, I will remove this module and install the other one. Before installing it, I'm checking the pins on the memory module to make sure there is no dirt on them, and I install it the same as before. And surprisingly, it also works like this. I installed the second one again. Now they're in different slots, and eventually they both work. It shows in the BIOS 4 GB, which is very good. Now it's time to move on to the processor. This is the heatsink of the processor and the fan. To remove the heatsink, I have to first remove the fan by unscrewing these 2 screws. After I remove the fan, I have to unplug it from the connector. I can't really do it now, but you will see it's easier to unplug it after I remove the fan, and I can grab it better like this. Also, now it's a good time to check for dust. Pulling this cable to get better access on the heatsink of the processor, and then I remove the 4 screws that are on top of the heatsink. Once the screws are removed, you will gently lift the heatsink, and as you see here, it will just slide out from the slot on the left side. You have to move the heatsink to the right first to take it out from the case of the laptop. Once you remove it from the case, you will slide it to the left under the cable, and it's removed completely from the laptop. Now I can check the thermal paste. There is one thermal pad on another chip that I believe is a Northbridge, but I'm not sure. This is pretty soft, so I'm going to reuse this one because I don't have a thermal pad. To remove the processor from its socket, there is one flat head screw, and I will turn it, unscrew it, and once I do this, there is an unlocking mechanism that just releases the processor, and I can lift it as it is. This is a close-up of the old processor. The pins of the processor are very easy to bend, so you have to be careful when you handle it. This is the new processor. It's the dual core new version of the Turion. It's the 66 model. This, I believe, it was the best price to performance ratio. The 64-bit X2 TL66 model. There was a 68 model, but that was more expensive, so I decided to use this one. First, I'm checking for bent pins on the new processor just to make sure that it's good to install, and I can use this technique to check all the pins. They should all align. Before installing the processor, check on the board the triangle marking pin 1, and it should align with the triangle marking pin 1 on the processor, and then you know how to place it on the slot, on the socket. After that, you have to just align it carefully with the socket and position it in place. The pins have to go exactly where they're supposed to, so it slides easily. There shouldn't be any need for force when it goes down, it just falls into place. Once you're confident that the processor is seated properly, you just lock the socket by turning this screw back to its original position, just how it looked like before you removed it. The new processor was purchased from China, and the Chinese seller supplied the thermal paste, and I didn't have any other thermal paste, so I had to use this one supplied by them. This is actually a good test to see if this paste is okay, if it's good or not. Cleaning the heatsink with isopropyl alcohol, and cleaning the radiator also to make sure there is good ventilation and cooling. You install it by placing it carefully on the slots of the heatsink, and you have to put first the screw that is marked number 1, and then number 2 and 3 and 4. First, the screws 1 and 2 are important because they align the heatsink with the socket. Reinstall the connector of the cooling fan, and after the connector is seated, you can place the fan back in its original position and put back the screws, keeping it in place. Secure the cable that sits on top of the heatsink, and once you're sure everything is in place, you can replace the cover by just pressing it in place. Reinstall the 4 screws you originally removed. Once this is done, you can check the operation by plugging in the power and try to start the laptop. Now you see the new processor is the X2 TL66 2.3 GHz. It's nice to see this one worked from the first try. Together with 4 GB of RAM, it's gonna be a much faster laptop than before. Okay, after installing the RAM and the processor, I noticed that the temperature was not very well actually with the old thermal paste. This is the temperature in idle, which is not bad for that thermal paste, especially since the ambient temperature is very high, 34 degrees almost. The problem is when I put a load on the processor and the temperature goes very high, and the processor is throttled. Now it's beyond 90 degrees reported, and if you notice, the frequency of the processor drops. It doesn't go full speed because what I believe is happening, it's trying to save itself from burning out, and it's dropping the temperature, dropping the frequency to protect itself. This means that the thermal solution I have, the heatsink and the fan, and together with the thermal paste, cannot cope with the temperature of the processor. After stopping Prime 95, this is the cool down time. The cooling fan is working hard to reduce the temperature, and it really does a good job here. After about a week, I got another thermal paste, Arctic Silver 5, which is I believe is going to be much better than the old one, and I will install this thermal paste. I'm trying to press the cooling pad a bit closer together, so when I put it back on the chip that is cooling, I believe that's a north bridge, but I'm not sure, it's going to sit better on that chip. And cleaning the heatsink with isopropyl alcohol again. I will clean the heatsink. Removing also the dust from the GPU radiator. And cleaning with isopropyl alcohol both for the processor and the other IC that are sitting on the same heatsink. At first I'm using a normal piece of paper with the alcohol to remove any dust particles or traces of the old thermal compound, and once they are both clean relatively, I will use a microfiber cloth that is designed for lens cleaning for photographic lens. This leaves no traces of lint or any debris on the processor. It's important to have the processor very clean before you install the new thermal paste. When I clean the heatsink, you notice that the alcohol evaporates immediately after I remove the cloth. This alcohol is 99% purity, isopropyl alcohol, and it evaporates without leaving traces. Cleaning the card also, and then I put a bit of thermal paste on the heatsink, trying to spread it on the heatsink also, just so there is a better contact with the processor. Then I put a bit of thermal paste on the processor. You shouldn't put too much. I just put a bit of thermal paste here, and after that I spread it with the card to have a nice even coat of paste. You can do this slowly, there is no rush, as long as you don't get anything, any debris, any lint on the processor itself, and just have a nice coating to have as much contact with the heatsink as possible for a better heat transfer. This paste, the excess, will be pressed out on the edges of the processor. Now they are both ready for the heatsink to be applied, and I will do that just now. Just a reminder to start with the screw number 1 and then number 2, 3 and 4 to make sure the heatsink aligns properly. If you're interested, these are the details of the processor in CPU Z. I'm going to start Prime 95 again and check how the thermal paste behaves. A reminder, this thermal paste needs time to sit in to become more efficient, and that time is decreased by putting thermal paste on the heatsink also. More details about the motherboard of this laptop, memory, while I show you the CPU Z tabs, the Prime 95 program is running and the processor is at 100%. And it is at 100% and it's at full speed, and the temperature doesn't rise as high as it used to be. And stopping Prime 95 shows the cooldown time. I hope this video helped you, and that now you can get a better performance out of your old laptop. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, a like, and please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me a lot. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye.